In a world where the news gets twisted, Jon and Tom stand tall, never wasted. MAGA hats on, they take the stage. With laughter and facts, they break the cage. Unsanctioned voices fearless and bold, turning the tide, watch the truth unfold. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, debating the nonsense of the woke parade. With every punchline, conservative trade, they tackle the issues with humor and wit. In Unsanctioned America, they won't quit. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as Jon and Tom class through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as Jon and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, together they rise, wear their pride like a crown. In Unsanctioned America, never backing down. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, shining light.
My fellow Americans and autists who voted for Trump, it's your boy Dank Brandon here. I want to take a moment to congratulate the DNC on losing another election to Donald Trump. You replaced me with a candidate who has the same likability as Greasy, hobo taint and expected to win, and they say I'm the retarded one. The Democrats said that I was too old, that I was too slow, that I was a joke. Well, here's a joke for you. What do Willie Brown and the 2024 presidential election have in common? Kamala Harris blew both of them. I shouldn't have said that. But seriously, I mean, first Hillary loses to Donald and now Kamala. This man has beaten more women than Doug Emhoff. Anyways, congrats on losing to Hitler again. I hope he locked you all up this time. Dank Brandon out.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
Thank you so much for buying Twitter.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. I really do. I really think you made a fork in the road. We were headed down a path of censorship and of control of narratives that is unprecedented. Forget about what they were able to do back when they had newspapers and the media under control. What they were doing with social media by suppressing information, and when you had a combined government effort, like what they were doing with the laptop story, where you have 51 former intelligence agents saying that this is Russian disinformation, take it offline, and Twitter complied. If you didn't buy that, we wouldn't have known that. We had no idea.
Exactly. No, it's. I mean, the reason I bought it was because I'm pretty attuned since I was like the most interacted with user on Twitter before the acquisition. So before the acquisition, I had more interactions than like there's some accounts like Obama and whatever had higher follower accounts, but I had the most number of interactions of any account in the system. So I was very attuned to like if they if they change the system, I can tell immediately. Like and I'm like something weird is going on here, you know. Like so there's like I just got increasingly uneasy, and obviously when they deplatformed a sitting president, you know, don't deplatform Trump, that was just insane.
It sure was, John. It sure was. But
insane is right.
I don't think
insane
anybody expected
is right.
that, and then it happened, and then we were just like, what? But seriously, thank God that Elon Musk bought X, or Twitter. It's called X now, but thank God he bought it, because so much has come to light. We've learned so much from X, and now it truly is a free exchange of information between users. It is unfettered social media the way it's supposed to be, and I think it had a huge impact in this election.
I mean, clearly, I think, first of all, that moment when they deplatformed Trump on Twitter, when it was Twitter, was a huge wake-up call for some people.
Yeah.
It turned people that were just Republicans, some of them, into like practically hyper aware of what was at stake, right? We all of a sudden understood that they're literally violating the First Amendment rights. That's what we saw, right? In spirit, maybe not by law, but in spirit, because it was a corporation. And then several years later, we learned it was also by law, because it was the government that was creating that situation where it was censoring people. They're not allowed to curb political speech, right? Under any circumstances, they're not allowed to curb political speech, and they were. So they were violating the First Amendment, not the 15th, not the 25th, not the 108th, okay? Not even the 9th, not the 7th, the First Amendment. I mean, you can't get more, like, they were going for the American people's jugular by doing this, and they wanted to capture and hold power for the rest of our lives, at least.
Yes, absolutely.
And that was clear, and that was like the wake-up call for, I think, you and I, right? For sure. Like, when we saw that, we couldn't believe it. What an amazing...
We were being throttled by Facebook all the time.
Yeah, we were being throttled ourselves, and we were like, we are insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Completely insignificant show, right? A few thousand people watch our show. It's not the millions that are, the tens of millions that were with Trump, and to deplatform him, we experienced that too, right? We were shut off in the middle of a show. So
I'll never forget that.
Incredible. It's incredible. It's incredible. Who would? And that's like being in a third world, banana republic.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. But what an amazing, amazing time this is as an American to watch this unfold, this election, beating back what is essentially a future tyrannical government, and bringing freedom back to the United States. And I know that the left feels the exact opposite, but the facts tell us something different. When it's not Trump who's trying to deplatform people. It's not Trump who's refusing to answer questions about who he is or what he thinks. It's not Trump who is using lawfare to cancel his political opponents. And certainly it's not Trump who's demanding that people lose their freedom, right, to just exist. So these are crazy, crazy times. I'm super appreciative to God that I'm here to witness it. And as a matter of fact, I guess it's a good time. Let's say our prayer and let's get down to the show, because we got a ton of stuff to talk about. It's going to be a long show. We have just had the election. We got comments. We got all kinds of stuff. We got the reactions from both sides. We have all kinds of things. And Trump is hitting home run after home run. So let's say a quick prayer. Then I'll go through the headlines, and then we'll jump into the show. Lord, we are truly grateful, not just for the win, not just for a victory, but for the future, for the promise of this future, great future that we're already seeing taking place. The changes that are happening right now in just a matter of days is so drastic. We are truly grateful for that. And we know that when the losing side comes to a sense of understanding of what we've escaped, I know that they're also going to appreciate the outcome of this election. And certainly their children will appreciate the outcome of this election. Lord, we are grateful that you heard our prayers and the prayers of Americans across the country to get Americans to stand up and get involved and do their biblical duty and to vote biblically. And now we're reaping the rewards of what we've sown. And we are grateful for your mercy and for your grace. And we pray that this country achieves everything that we believe it will under this current leadership. We pray that Trump is protected. We pray that all of our new leaders are protected. We pray that everyone comes to you and seeks your guidance and grace while they're making decisions to lead our communities into the future. So be with them, protect them, watch over them, inspire them, and please be a part of our nation as you have been for so many years. All the greatest parts of this nation, all its greatest history, you were there for it. And we as Americans invite you back to be part of this country. In your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Oh man, this is going to be a great show. Great show. Let me go through. Let me rip through some of these. What we're going to talk about tonight, so that people have an idea. That was Dank Brandon you saw opening the show, and we got a fork in the road. That fork in the road is what you heard Elon Musk and Joe Rogan talking about. We're going to talk more about that later on. Trump's election night domination, what we escaped. Rigging the elections and promoting transgender ideology killed the Democratic election. Trump and Vance make promises to clean up corruption, morale, and otherwise. RFK Jr. about to unleash his plan to make America healthy again. In 2 days, Trump already paying dividends to his investors. Lib changes on immigration. The mainstream media reaction to the election, including Morning Schmo and Joy Reid. The blue-haired reaction to election loss. We're going to see that. You know what? The blue-hair faction of the Democratic Party, that's going to be a good reaction to watch. Dems proving they're more violent than ever. And the lawfare against Trump, is it finally coming to an end? We asked the question. And then we're going to go through a little stroll of what we escaped by defeating Commie LaHarris. And then, of course, we're going to pay a tribute to Peanut and Fred, the lovable TikTok characters who were taken from their homes and then slaughtered by the New York authorities for a reason that no one understands. All this and more on this episode of Unsanctioned America. Thank you for coming. Please like and share the show. Right now is a good time. Just take a moment, hit that share button. If you're not following Tom and I, please do. Follow us on social media. You'll see everything. We're also now on iTunes and the most of all the other podcast distributors. So find us out there also. Join us. Thank you for joining us. And now let's get down to the show. What do you got, Tom?
Let's get into some news. All right, John. So, yes, of course, we're going to start off with that historic win by President Trump. Look at this map.
Was it a big win, Tom?
Yeah, it was a huge.
Pretty big win.
Here it is. This is the final map.
Pretty
this
big
is it. It took Nevada and what was it? I think it was Idaho or Montana, one of those other states. It took them 2 days to finally tally all their votes. But
Arizona.
It was Arizona? Yeah. It was Arizona and Nevada. It took forever. God only knows why, but whatever the case may be. Nevada.
Unacceptable.
Red.
It's unacceptable.
It is
right?
unacceptable. It really is.
Unacceptable.
It really is.
Absolutely unacceptable.
But President Trump, 312 electoral votes. He did win the popular vote, too, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But you look at that map, and you just see it there. And President Trump broke the blue wall. He broke the blue wall.
He didn't break it. He repossessed it, and he owns it now. I mean, he took 7 out of 7 swing states.
Yeah.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. This is a demolishment of the liberal machine. It's hard to even describe this win.
Yeah. And there were states that we weren't sure about, but President Trump said that he was going to take Michigan, he was going to take Pennsylvania, and he did. Incredible. But you look at the vote chart and what we got here, and wow. Very strange, John. You look at the different years, and I'm going to bring this up so you can see the years here.
I guess that's the number one question, right?
Yeah.
This is the number one question of the election. It's not who won how. It's not any of that stuff. It's where in the hell did 15 million voters disappear to?
Yeah.
That is the question.
Yeah.
That is the question. You're going to tell me, and I've been holding this in for a couple of days now, you're going to tell me that they have a static – look, you can see Trump's numbers continue to grow and grow and grow in a natural fashion. They took a dip there right from 2020 to 2024. But the blue line, there's this – what is going on there? There's nothing that proves – listen, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe the pundits. But you can't – numbers don't lie. numbers don't lie. You can see clear as day that there's definitely
An
a problem.
abnormality there.
There's an anomaly there that needs to be checked. And let's just say this: the people who created that anomaly need to go to jail.
Yes.
I think that we want to see justice in a big way. People who cheated, causes all this pain and suffering, broke our economy. We want to see justice. You know, I want to see justice for China. By the way, China reacted to this election. Did you see the headlines? China was shocked by the election result, and Xi himself, they said, was taken aback by it.
Wow.
Also. So they've been talking. There was a Taiwanese professor who was in China at the time, and that's all the entire upper apparatus of China was talking about, was the elections and what that means to them. Their economy right now has been stagnated, and now they're terrified at the prospects. Trump already, right? We're already talking about paying the dividends. But sorry to get off topic.
No,
where in the hell did these 15 million voters go?
Yes, absolutely.
Where did these 15 million voters go?
And here it is. I mean, Colin Rugg brought this up on X. 81 million votes in 2020. John Kerry in 2004, 59 million votes. 2008, Barack Obama, 69 million. Barack Obama in 2012, 66 million. Hillary Clinton in 16, 66 million. So it's all around the same, right? 2020, Joe Biden, 81 million. And then Kamala Harris in this year, 67 million. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Obviously, 2020 was rigged. And if you don't believe that it was rigged, I don't know what it's going to take for you to believe that it was rigged.
Well, you clearly have no idea. You're not paying attention, or you don't want to see the truth, right? Like you're still waiting for Santa to bring you presents and for the Easter Bunny to come give you the money for the tooth you lost.
Right.
If you don't understand that this election was stolen in 2020, then you are not. You're one of these people who we're going to show later on in the show.
15 million votes don't just appear.
They don't disappear
and then disappear the next one, and never appear before. It just doesn't make sense. So and I wanted to bring up this other little map too, because some of these blue states were making headway in those blue states too, John.
Yeah, it wasn't just the blue wall.
Yeah, California. Look at this. On the left,
wow.
We got 2020, and then this year, 2024. Look at how much headway we've made in that state. I mean, potentially California could be in play for future elections right there. I mean, look at that.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many elections it's going to take for it to be in play. Theoretically, this is a tremendous victory, even in California. They called California as soon as the polls closed. They didn't even count the ballots.
Yeah.
But you can see there geographically, Trump was running away with some of these counties. They've been talking about splitting California up. I don't think that it will ever happen. California would never allow it to happen, right? They have a supermajority of it's just like saying that the Democrats in South Florida or in Tallahassee can split off of Florida. We'd never let it happen because they're such a small group. That's what it's like in California. And but could it be in play? I think that they're gonna like the normalcy of the next. They're gonna like winning, right? And these Hollywood actors, at the end of the day, they've realized how little importance they carry with the American people today.
I hope they realize. I really do. I hope they do.
They may not, right? Because they isolate themselves. And they like to be self-important. They like to be affirmed on a constant basis. But the fact is, the people don't care about what their opinions are so much, right? They want to see them shake their moneymaker. They want to see them act. They want to hear them sing. They don't want to hear what they have going on in their minds because it's never positive, right? With the exception of a few people like Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, like what's inside their head is there's not that much. A couple of marbles rolling around. And so there's not a lot of respect for them, and people just don't have the interest.
Yeah. We don't want to hear what's good for us coming from these people.
A bunch of hypocrites. Yeah, a bunch of hypocrites.
Yeah. So, John, this historic win for President Trump, I've thought long and hard about it, and I think that you cannot deny the effect that the Joe Rogan podcast, and the last 4 episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast, how much
Sealed the deal.
it sealed the deal for President Trump. I'm going to bring up this graphic. This is from YouTube, and this is as of yesterday. Joe Rogan podcast, 46,377,441 views as of yesterday. The second day that this podcast was out on YouTube, it had already amassed 26 million views. Right before the election, it already had over 30 million views. And that was just on YouTube. That wasn't counting Spotify or any of the podcast places that you could watch or hear the Joe Rogan podcast. I think these long-form interviews, 3 hours long with President Trump, I think that people that normally, the independents that normally wouldn't hear anything from Trump, especially from the mainstream media, got to hear this 3 hours of President Trump, hear that he's a normal guy. He has his wits. His brain is there. He has a plan. He would.
He's his own man.
Yeah,
right.
He's a funny guy.
He's the decision maker in his life.
Yeah, I think that
he is funny. Absolutely, that's a big one.
A big winner. And President Trump did Patrick Bet-David's podcast. He did Theo Vaughn too. But I think Joe Rogan's really sealed the deal.
That's the biggest one, right? It's him and Tucker are the two biggest.
Yeah.
Right? Him and Tucker are the two biggest.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I agree with you 100%. I think you're totally right. This sealed the deal. Going back before that even, and we were talking about this in the prep, that there were stages, there are phases to his victory, right? And it's at the end of the day, just like Mary Jane Arrington says, the buck stops with her, but it never does stop with her. On the other hand, with Trump, the buck does stop with him. He was the chief architect of all of these pieces, bringing people in, creating the environments, taking advantage of things that were happening, right? And that started with, number one, Tucker, who Tucker wasn't it's not like he was the greatest Trump fan in the world, right? They had their own contention, but he brought him on board because he convinced Tucker, and Tucker understood how important this election was, number one. That's one thing they all have in common. And number two, that Trump was the only one that was going to give us an honest leadership, right? Yeah. And so Tucker came on. And then all these other things started out, like we talked about, like he was deplatformed, right? Yeah. Everybody was like, what the heck? Right? He started opening eyes, and then he brought Tucker on. And then he got shot, right? And that brought Elon Musk on. And then it just was like a snowball. It was almost like just God's hand providing these opportunities for Trump, and Trump, is being the master salesperson that he is, took advantage of every single opportunity to build his coalition into an unstoppable force. Yeah. And Joe Rogan being the cherry on top that sealed the deal. There's no doubt that millions of people watch. Obviously, we just saw, right? Tens of millions of people watched the podcast or heard the podcast, and were convinced that this is a real man that I can get behind. This is not a fake. This is not somebody who's trying to avoid questions. He has a sense of humor. He's funny. He's human. 3-hour conversation long with Trump, with a guy who's not necessarily friendly, because it's not like Joe Rogan was friendly. He was neutral.
Yeah, he was.
Right?
He was. But I think he was fair. He did have fun with President Trump. It wasn't like it was a total serious interview. You know what I mean? You have 3 hours with somebody, you can't stay serious that long.
But he wasn't like, oh yes, Trump, I'm going to vote for you, and we're here to build you votes. Right? No, it wasn't like that.
He wasn't a dick either. You know what I mean? But
no, and he's not. And he wouldn't have been to Kamala Harris either.
No. But,
right?
Like we talked about on the prior show, he gave Kamala Harris an opportunity to do the show.
Yeah.
She refused to do the show unless they cut it down to 1 hour, and he was to go fly to wherever she was to do the show instead of going to Austin, Texas, where he's based at, and doing the show there. So
and being in the show, which is crazy, the demands.
Yeah.
Right? To control the environment. It's crazy to want to control that environment of the podcast.
I think she
so you're basically not attending.
Safe space. She wanted to be in a safe space, and she did not want to have to do 3 hours because she knew she couldn't do it.
No, hell no.
She couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, she couldn't do 1 hour. He really did her a favor, because 1 hour with Joe Rogan would have destroyed her too, right? It might have been worse. It might have been worse.
She'd have to answer for things. know?
Yeah, in all honesty, it might have been worse for him. I mean, look at Fetterman. Fetterman went on there, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So
The
it's
last 3 shows that Joe Rogan did before the election,
just
it was
big.
Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, John Fetterman, and then Elon Musk. And,
Crazy.
Those 4 shows, I think, had a huge influence on this election.
Absolutely.
Definitely, if you listen to the J.D. Vance interview, it was a great interview. It was a great discussion with J.D. Vance. He went about 3 hours with Rogan. John Fetterman, I think, helped seal the deal unintentionally for President Trump. And then Elon
Absolutely.
Musk and Elon Musk's plea to the American people and the way he framed things definitely had an effect. It had an effect on me. And even though I was already a Trump voter, I was already going, but just seeing this man, this innovator, the Thomas Edison of the 21st century, come out and say the things that he said. And we have a little clip from that Joe Rogan episode. Here it is.
Like, this is the change.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I view this election as a turning point, like a fork in the road of destiny that is incredibly important. I've not been politically active until this election, and the reason I've been politically active this election is because I think if we don't elect Trump, I think we will lose. We will lose democracy in this country. We will lose the 2-party system, and let me explain why. So, there's only like 6 or 7 swing states. The margin of victory in those states is small, often like 10 or 20,000 votes. What the Democrat administration has been doing is importing vast numbers of illegals into swing states. You can look at the numbers on the actual government website, meaning you don't take my word for it. You'll just look at the numbers as reported by the government, which is controlled by the Democrats. And what we're seeing is triple-digit increases in the number of illegals in every swing state. In some cases, 700% increases. These are gigantic numbers. So if you have a state that has a 10 or 20,000 vote margin, and you put 200,000 illegals into that state, you 10x you swamp the. It's not a swing state anymore. It's going to vote blue. And then once the swing states vote blue, there is no election anymore. There's only a Democrat primary.
Which is so crazy. And it's so crazy that people are fine with that.
Well, I guess people on the left will be fine with that because they think that's a good idea.
Well, they just want to win. They just want to win.
Correct. Like the thing is, one does not need actually any grand conspiracy theory for this. You just have to look at the simple matter of incentives. If the Democrat Party wants to win, like basically achieve permanent victory, all they need to do is turn the swing states. Turn the swing states blue. They have permanent victory. And then we're a one-party state, and then they will keep doing that. Obviously, they will keep stacking the deck by bringing in vast numbers of illegals into the swing states. Keep stacking it so that the next election, each successive election, will be worse than the last one. And that's what's happening. If you want to see, like, well, is this actually going to happen? Look at California. California is supermajority Dem, 70% Dem. A month ago, they passed a law making it illegal to show ID in any election in California. So a friend of mine went to vote in Palo Alto because he was like, "Is this for real?" He tried to show his ID, and they reacted like if you show a cross to a vampire. Okay, they're like, "No, we can't even look at that ID." It is illegal for them to even look at your ID if you want to present it in California.
Why?
For any election at all, even like city council.
What logical reason other than to cheat would you ever have that law?
The reason is to cheat.
But the only like you can never make an argument any other way. And I think 84% of people polled believe that you should show ID to vote. So it's against the will of the people.
Yes, and we are extremely rare. We're an outlier in not requiring ID. Basically, almost every country on earth requires ID to vote.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot more that he said. Really, I had made a video that I had put out on Facebook before the election for the Osceola County Conservative Republican Assembly of something he said, which he basically said this is the last chance to save democracy. And I believe it. Obviously, he believed it. And I think his influence, because he's one of those guys, you either love him or you hate him, but you cannot deny the fact of the
He's brilliant.
impact he's had on humanity, not just the United States of America, but humanity in general. When he says something, you get it, and you're like, okay, I believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a future builder, right? He's driving the vision that people have for the future. Millions and millions, tens of millions of children look at the future based on some of the things that he's doing. Like even the shirt that he was wearing, Occupy Mars, right? So there's kids that are dreaming of being astronauts and occupying Mars. And so,
That's
he's
working towards. I mean,
that's what he's working. Exactly. He's creating that future for them, right? He's building the block. It's like Howard Hughes and or any of these huge innovative national change agents, and that's what he's doing. And he saw that his country was in trouble, and he stood up. Unlike all these crazy celebrities that are just freaks for the most part, he's standing up to protect this country and us in general. Because believe me, I think that Elon Musk could have easily supported Harris, gotten a big check at the end of the day, right, and been isolated from everything. And he chose against that. Just like when he bought Twitter and turned it into X, he wrote a check on behalf of the people of the United States for something, and he could easily go public and make his money back, or he could sell it, or he could do whatever, but he didn't. He kept it private. He allowed people to use it. He allows people to argue. He just protects our First Amendment rights. So he's a big hero. I have never, like I've said on the show, I'm not his biggest fan. I'm not a big fan of him. And I'm not a big fan of Joe Rogan either. I haven't been, at least, right? I'm more of a fan now than I was before, but only because it's like they know. Okay, I'm John Arguello. I'm nobody, but he's Elon Musk and he's Joe Rogan. And these two guys should have came on way earlier to say, you know what? Our country's going down this path and it's dangerous. And they're such wimps that they don't want to risk at that time. I'm not saying that they're really wimps, but at that time, it's a really wimpy decision to stand back and watch the country go as far as it did. At what point do you jump in and be like, hey, no, enough is enough. We need to save the country. And thank God they did it just at the right time, which may be why they're billionaires and millionaires. Because they have good timing and they knew when the right time was, and they made a decision based on, their own analysis. For me, it's just as a regular person, I'm only deciding for my child, like this country has to mean as much to me and has to provide with me as much as it did for my, for my child, as much as it did for me. Absolutely. And so, so it's a much simpler decision. I don't have thousands and thousands of employees to worry about.
I say, Joe Rogan did come out and endorse President Trump, but it was on the day before the election. But as far as Elon Musk, I think you and I both remember he was originally a DeSantis guy. And he was already moving towards the right before he was a DeSantis guy. He was really behind DeSantis when DeSantis was running for president. I think he saw how that wasn't going to work out. And he seemed to come on board with Trump after the shooting, like you said, when the guy took the shot at President
he announced
Trump.
That day. He's like, when he stood up and said, fine. So here's the thing. I think that I'm judging him harshly. I think that Elon Musk, he basically was worried about Trump's character flaws, right? And he's looking at DeSantis and he says, oh, well, DeSantis doesn't have any obvious character flaws, right? Yeah. He's a man who's focused on his family, et cetera, all the positives of DeSantis. And he said, you know what, I'm just going to do it here because I don't want a circus situation. I just want a country that's going to be honest and fair, right, and good. And so DeSantis is good enough. He's the one I like the most, right? Haley's a little bit too much establishment, so DeSantis, whatever. And then Trump gets shot. Trump stands up after getting shot, not knowing how badly he's injured or not knowing if it's over, and then says, fight, fight, fight. And then Elon Musk is like, oh, those character flaws are a camouflage for a real good character, real good internal fortitude that is going to help this country go to a place. And he, made the decision right then and there. And I actually applaud him for that. So in retrospect, I think that that's it was fair what he's done. I'm not so sure. Joe Rogan, I think, knew better He was, and we said it on the show too, right? He knew better. What the left did with ivermectin is exactly what they were doing to the entire country on 500 other issues, right? Transgender ideology, sexualized materials in schools. Oh, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. There's 100 COVID issues in the United States that the left has been doing to the American people. And he knew that they were going because he was the victim of one. Yeah. The chief victim of the ivermectin. And I only say chief victim because he's the most famous, but there were doctors that lost their licenses and stuff, right? There were doctors that were like literally losing their careers over trying to help people. Yeah. And he saw that firsthand, and he still was like, oh, well, I'm scared. It's just like, you know who else? Dave Chappelle. No. Great comic, hilarious, right? Super gifted, super intelligent, right? He's not just a clown on stage making jokes. He's biting thing. He understands culture. He understands people. He's extremely intelligent. He's very funny and talented. He knows what's going on, and he doesn't like Trump because he thinks that Trump is racist. Chappelle is too smart for that. But the problem is that the circle that he's involved in doesn't allow him to escape the circle. So he has to play the game, right? So, I mean, those are the ones that, it's hard to respect that. You got to fight when the country's on the line. And there was a video with Chappelle, by the way, and we can move on to the next story. But, Dave Chappelle, it's got him and D.L. Hughley on a stage, right? And D.L. Hughley saying, oh, you could always, as a black kid, that's all he talks about, right? The guy's like the only thing that D.L. Hughley understands is race, nothing else, right? And so he's talking about, my mom will slap the taste out of my mouth. And, and Chappelle says to him, my mom didn't hit. But anyways, because he was like, right, Dave Chappelle, right? We're both black. So the only thing that we know is physical violence and abuse. And Chappelle like turned that whole thing on its head and was like, my mom didn't hit. Right. And so here's the thing. You know how much courage it came out to say, I'm not a victim of violence in my house. And my black family is a decent family. Right. We're not that. Yeah. You know what? I'll spank my child if I want to. That's not what I'm saying. But you know what I'm saying? Like he was standing out from what's easy to pretend to be. Yeah. And I wish that he would have done this for the elections, because then it would have been even better, I think, for people like that to have been part of this.
Yeah. Well, John, I did mention that Fetterman was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was one of those last 4 episodes before the election. And it was the original Fetterman, not version 2.0, not version 3.0, or any of the versions that came before. You remember the original Fetterman?
Delegation.
Delegation.
I couldn't help it, John. I couldn't help it.
God. What's wrong with Pennsylvania, man? What is wrong with Pennsylvania?
Well, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he basically admitted that Biden and Kamala's refusal to close the border is meant to rig future elections. And that was after getting grilled by Joe Rogan. Here it is.
A significant number of these people that are illegal immigrants that have made their way to swing states. And then there's been calls for amnesty. There's been calls for allowing these people to have a pathway to citizenship and allow them to vote. The fear that a lot of people have is that this is a coordinated effort to take these people that you're allowing to come into the country, then you're providing them with all sorts of services like food stamps and housing and setting them up, then providing a pathway to amnesty, and then you would have voters that would be significantly voting towards the Democrats because they're the people that enabled them to come into the country in the first place and provided them with those services. This is a big fear that people have, and that you're rigging this system and that this will turn all these states into essentially locked blue like California is.
Well, it's immigration is always going to be a tough issue in our nation. I had as a professor in grad school, Alan Simpson, and he was a United States senator. He was Wyoming, and he was actually a pro-choice Republican. I mean, how rare that would be. Well, it doesn't exist now. And he said, you are never going to have any meaningful immigration kinds of legislation. He's like, because both sides, that's useful for them, and it's going to be back and forth. And he said that 25 years ago.
Useful meaning the debate, having it always a political
it's
talking
useful
point.
for one side or the other. It's
Right.
useful, and he said there were never going to be, and he said that in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And I voted for the border deal, and that went down. And that's, I mean, he said that 25 years ago, and that was absolutely true now, that they had an opportunity to do a comprehensive border, bipartisan, and that went down because Trump, he declared that's a bad deal after it was negotiated with the others.
So this is where it starts to go downhill. So essentially what's going on is that Fetterman is trying to say, oh, well, the Trump team and the Republicans sank this thing where it was going to solve this problem. And it starts to go downhill because Joe Rogan is no fool. All right. No. So Joe Rogan is a well-informed person, and he's not going to let you get away with just telling a PR answer. And this is where the grilling actually takes place and where he admits this. So pay attention to the second half.
But didn't that deal also involve amnesty? And didn't that deal also involve a significant number of illegal aliens being allowed into the country every year? I think it was 2 million people. So it was still the same sort of situation, and their fear is exactly what I talked about, that these people will be moved to swing states, and that will be used to essentially rig those states and turn them blue forever.
Well, I'm not really sure if that's what's in play. I think it's really it's important that we have an honest conversation.
But doesn't that seem logical, though? If you have a significant number of people that are being moved into swing states that have come across the border illegally, and then you've provided them with all these services, you provided them with food stamps, EBT, you've provided them with housing. You could, if you gave those people amnesty and allowed those people to vote, and it was very organized. You're talking about 75,000 votes over a few counties that switched everything over to the Republicans. You could see how you import 10 million people over the course of 4 years illegally, and then move a significant number of them to swing states, and then provide them with all these services, and then give them a path to citizenship. You could essentially rig those states.
Undeniably, immigration is changing our nation. I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time in Texas, but it's very clear that immigration has remade Texas, and I think it's generally for a good thing.
Yeah, it's for a good thing to take over elections.
This is what Kamala Harris was afraid of, right here. This is what she was afraid of.
This is exactly what she was afraid of, and I think that. Even though Fetterman obviously is the sufferer of a stroke in this video and in every video that he takes, Kamala Harris would have looked like an even more recent victim of a stroke at trying to answer those questions. Because here's the problem. Even if it's legal what you're doing, the fact is that your intention is to steal the election, and you're doing it. And this guy's admitting to it. He's a United States senator who's admitting that that's the outcome. That's the byproduct. Oh, so it's just a byproduct. It's not the intention to steal the election. It's just a byproduct. Oh, yeah. Having eternal, perpetual power in the United States is just a byproduct. That's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we're good people. Oh, okay, bull crap. They're trying to steal the future of this nation. And now I wouldn't be surprised. Here's the thing. I don't think that Trump cares at all about the office of being president more than he cares about the legacy of being president. He's going to try to resolve these problems. Now it's in the hands, literally the football. He's the quarterback. He's Tom Brady. He's handing the quarterback the ball. He's handing the ball to the Republican Party to try to get through some big victories. He's on his way. He's already, it took no time at all for him to come up with some great ideas, which we're going to talk about. But it's incredible. It's incredible that they're now acknowledging this stuff. And I guess they don't want to go to jail. That's the only reason I would ever admit to being such a scumbag is that I don't want to go to jail after the fact.
Yeah, I think we know a few of those people, John. But we do have a bonus Fetterman video. Fetterman wanted to make up for this interview with Joe Rogan, so he went on CNN. You know, he was brought on to bash Trump, basically. And he says that if you do not support things like using taxpayer money to give incarcerated illegal alien sex change surgeries or allowing men to compete in girls' sports, then you are an asshole. And here he is.
One of the most prevalent Trump campaign ads has been attacking Kamala Harris for her stance on trans rights. The ad ends with a tagline, quote, "Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you." Is that resonating in Pennsylvania?
We actually played that video
again,
on the show.
it's like if your political capital comes from picking on trans kids or gay kids or anything like that, you're just bankrupt throughout all of this. You know, my version of being a man is like, hey, I like ribeyes, I like Motorhead, and I'm never going to pick on trans kids and gay kids or things. And it's just sad that the other side choose to kind of pick on members of those community. And I've said this throughout my entire career, that if you think that I have to turn our backs on their community, then you can vote for somebody else. But I'm unwilling to ever do that. And again, it's just a warped version of, it doesn't make you tough. It doesn't make you a man to pick on trans or gay kids. It just makes you an asshole.
But politically, the Trump campaign believes that has some resonance with suburban parents, with men and
way to miss the point,
color.
Fetterman.
You don't see that?
Way to miss the point.
I don't speak about members and their views of a member of a community. I'm not part of that community. But my views have been very clear throughout all of this. But I will say, though, that if you're willing and if you think if that makes you, tough, or it makes you more edgy to pick on members of that community, like I said, it's just sad, and it's just reflective of their desperation throughout this entire campaign.
Well, okay, so does he think that being tough is playing on a girl's team and slamming a volleyball into a girl's head? Is that what's tough for him? Or punching a girl in a boxing match in a fight? That's what's tough to Fetterman? I mean, I don't understand what he's saying. He clearly, the synapses in his brain are going nowhere. This guy has no idea what he's saying. He doesn't make any sense, and he's just a clown. He's just a vote, an empty suit of a vote.
Yeah, he is. He's a clown. I was glad that they brought him back out, though, John. It's always a good laugh to see Senator Fetterman and, whatever he has to say. But Kamala Harris finally did give her concession speech. It took a day. She wouldn't even face her supporters the night of the election for whatever reason. But she did come out.
Yeah, before you play this,
yeah.
she to make it clear, like, I was up until 5 a.m. watching the news, right? And at one point I switched over to the liberal media channels just so that I can see the reactions, right? Which was like the best part of the night. But I couldn't believe the fact that she never came out.
No.
She never came out. I mean, the entire country is waiting. She has all these people waiting there at Howard University, and she never even came out to say to her supporters, hey, go home. It's going to be a long night. Or, hey, listen, come on. Her speech was not that long.
Nope.
You could have written that. Didn't you have it prepared? You didn't have a concession speech prepared for presidency? Presidential race? And we can tell that she didn't because she plagiarized the speech at the end of the day.
Yeah, you have to tell that story, too.
So let's go ahead and play the video.
All right, so, here it is. Anyway, we're going to play this part of it. Just part of it.
Yeah.
We're not going to play the whole thing. But this is where her husband, Doug Emhoff, and Governor Tim Walz are seen crying during this speech. Here it is.
This is being tough for Fetterman.
Of America's promise will always burn bright. As long
that's Walz
as
right there.
we never give up, and as long as we keep fighting. To
And there's
my
Emma.
beloved Doug and our family, I love you so very much. To President Biden and Dr. Biden, thank you for your faith and support.
They're not there.
To Governor Walz and the Walz family, I know your service to our nation will
voted for
continue.
Trump.
And to my extraordinary team, to the volunteers who gave so much of themselves.
That's a preview right there. That's a preview. Oh my God.
These are so funny. This is crazy. Listen, I didn't see anybody doing this when Trump lost in 2020. You know, when we saw the election stolen,
Yes.
and you didn't see Republicans doing this.
You'll hear people say, "Oh, well, they had the insurrection." That wasn't an insurrection. Wasn't an insurrection. That was a bunch of upset people just displaying how upset they were. No guns, no nothing like that was involved. It's a joke when anybody says that it's an insurrection. At least it's a joke to me. But yeah, we have some true meltdowns happening across the nation. We're going to get to when we talk across the nation. But yeah, you know, you brought up that Kamala Harris, she plagiarized this speech from Hillary Clinton, John?
Yeah, so essentially somebody was following it, and she must have been watching Hillary Clinton's speech while she was thinking about what she was going to write, because then she wrote something very similar. I wouldn't say it's as plagiarized as Biden's paperwork or his law school work are, but certainly she took the same premise and tone and cadence and almost, the same words, and just redelivered it as part of her speech.
And we're going to give you an example why, John, why the liberals are so upset. Here's one of President Trump's promises that he's going to make that he made for day one. Here it is.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
Wow. So here's the thing. I was afraid. One of the things that I was afraid was that he was going to win the election because he made such a coalition, right? He was playing to the middle a lot more than I would have preferred. And then I was like, well, man, I hope that he follows through on this stuff, right? Because I'm one of the guys, I did want to see Hillary Clinton go to jail for destroying those emails, just like anybody else would have.
Yeah.
And because we didn't, I was just like, man, I wonder, is this going to be like you're doing sharp lines, but at the end of the day, because he's got a big heart, all right? Yeah. Trump, I know that leftists like to think that he's Hitler, but he's not. This is a good man. This is a grandfather. This is a guy who's very generous. This is a guy who loves people. This is not a bad guy. He's a big-hearted person, far more forgiving, carries far more grace than I do. But this shows me that, no, he's really serious about the promises that he made to our country to make it right. And I just, this isn't the only one, right? Yeah. So it's just, this is a great sign that he's going to protect the children of the United States. He's going to go after human trafficking. You know, those are things that are going to end in this country. And those are the people that are on board, the people that aren't willing to turn our country into a corporate cesspool.
One of the other things that was said was going to happen is J.D. Vance talked about what's going to happen to some of these federal agencies once they get into power. Here he is.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
On the subject of censorship, since we're on with Elon, you know, we know what's happening in Brazil.
Sure.
They blocked X. Now they've taken Starlink, to my understanding. Are we going to see any blowback if you and President Trump take office
Yes.
about all of the censorship that happened before?
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg just released that letter saying, "Oh, I fell to victim to the FBI pressure and made a censor." Are we going to see any repercussions for
Yes.
people that censored?
Yes, we're going to fire the people who censored. We're going to fire the people who were telling Mark Zuckerberg and all the other technology companies that they needed to censor. Fire the 50 intelligence operatives who said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. A lot of those people still have security clearances. Strip every single one of those people of their security clearances. Fire every single person. You cannot lie. Take your position of public trust and lie to the American people for political purposes. It's disgraceful, and people have to suffer consequences for it.
Yeah, they sure do. And this is also encouraging. And I wish that in that was also included some of the other people, right? Like, what about the people that have been lying all along? What about the people who have been lying to the United States all along? What about COVID? What about people who lied about COVID? What about Fauci? You know, what about Fauci? Yeah, I mean, like, we want to see. Forget just these guys. They can lose their security clearance, but are they going to go to jail? Are they going to get fired? He said they're going to get fired. That's great news because they lose their retirement. What about the generals who turned our military into a transgender experiment? Yeah. You know, are they going to fire them? Are they going to get rid of them? What about Milley? If Milley should get fired and have his retirement, like, I think he already retired, but he should have his retirement pulled. Yeah. All these people should, you know, they need to pay a consequence for the fraud that they performed on the United States government, that they performed on the United States people.
Yeah, absolutely. Fauci, definitely, Milley, all these people, and I think they are going to face a reckoning. I think they really are. I think President Trump has learned from his first term who he can trust, who he can't, the big players behind the scenes, and you know, what they did to this man, what they've been doing to this man for the last 9 years. I think
that he understands he has a lot less time than you think you have, right? Yeah. Like, if you're going to take action, you can't hesitate. You got to take action now. Don't trust the people. You know that they're bad. Don't give them a second chance. Get rid of them. Move on right away, because you can't. If they're bad, they're bad. Yeah. Right. And there's worse. They're even worse than you think they are in DC. Yeah. And that's a strange situation for Trump to be in, who already knows so much and is already so worldly and already knows about bad deals and good deals.
Absolutely. Well, we know that President Trump did privately fund his transition team. He did not wait for the government to step in and pay for this. So he's already picked his players, and I think we're going to see some great things on the way.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking
I
of
agree.
A few of
I think
them, and one of those people is RFK Jr., who President Trump asked him to do 3 things, and these are those 3 things.
Donald Trump has said that he would put you in charge of the public health agencies. What exactly does that look like?
Well, he's been very specific in what he said. He wants me to do 3 things. 1, clean up the corruption of the agencies, particularly the conflicts of interest that have turned those agencies into captive agencies for the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry, the other industries that they're supposed to be regulating. Number 2, to return those agencies to the gold standard science, the empirically based, evidence-based medicine that they were famous for when I was a kid. And number 3, to make America healthy again, to end the chronic disease epidemic. And President Trump has told me that he wants to see measurable, concrete results within 2 years in terms of a measurable diminishment in chronic disease among America's kids.
Wow. So here's the special thing about this, right? This is like the really big thing. This guy went against the historically Democrat family, the whole thing, Camelot, all that junk, right?
His own
That
family.
that people have, that people have buy into, and they treat them like they're different than any other people, right? Well, he abandoned all of that. He like abdicated his position in that family to come and do the right thing. And his family scorned him. They spoke out against him. They insulted him. They just disparaged him to a great degree. They disowned him, right? They talked about his uncle and his dad rolling in their graves over what he was saying, which is disgusting to do that to a family member for doing the right thing. But now he's going to be a national hero. Now he's going to be the man responsible, along with Trump, that saves our kids from a runaway corporatist conflict of interest and government agencies who have destroyed the health of our families. And this guy's going to be the guy who saves our kids as a result of this mandate. And his family are going to look like a bunch of idiots. They're going to look like a bunch of idiots who disowned the own man. It's kind of like the brothers of Joseph when they threw him in the hole in the Bible. And like he comes, it's just, that's it. His families are the brothers, and Joseph gets thrown in a hole. That hole happens to be a hole that is going to create the product that will save the environment that will save America's kids.
And, just knowing RFK Jr. and the things he's talked about before, prior to this, the books he's written, I believe that he is going to show those concrete, measurable results to President Trump within 2 years. And I think we're all going to be better off for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely think we're going to be a better country, more able country, more defensible country, more active country. It's just going to be the truth, a more aware country. We would settle for that, right? Like, just if we know the truth about what we're being fed, about the dyes in our food, about the poisons, about the fluoride in the water, about these effing vaccines that are hurting our kids that we know, about COVID, as we mentioned, right? Like, this all would be great. About the fact that they inject our foods with chemicals to make them more marketable. There's no way in hell that British. Yeah, it's terrifying, and we're gonna find all those things out. And now this election we didn't just elect Trump. We elected the president in 2028, right? We elected J.D. Vance already, and Trump is like gonna secure the presidency for another 8 years. This is not a 4-year term for Trump. This is going to be Trump plus 8.
Yeah, and I think we're going to need that. We're going to need that to.
We're going to need it. We're going to need it.
This
we're going to need it.
Rolling, and we're talking about things that are going to happen in the future. You know what I mean? Things we're looking forward to. But already, John, within 2 days of President Trump winning the election.
2 days.
Yep. Steve Madden is halting manufacturing in China by half in a year. Hamas calls for an end to the war in the Middle East. The Iran-backed Houthis announced a ceasefire, and Putin says he's ready to work towards peace. In 2 days.
In 2 days.
2 days.
2 days. I mean, literally, the guy went to bed, woke up, stretched, and is already moving towards peace in 2 different geographic areas in the Middle East and in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
you don't
crazy.
even have to believe us. You don't have to believe that post on X. Here are the headlines. Here are the ones. This one was a post too, but it was from Steve Madden's earnings call. Steve Madden comments on tariff risk on earnings call. Steve Madden targets 40% reduction in China sourcing in 1 year. Steve Madden shifting sourcing more quickly due to Trump's win. Steve Madden moving goods out of China due to tariff risks. All right, that's the first one. Second one, this is Newsweek. Hamas calls for immediate end to war after Trump election win. Yeah. This second one.
Yeah.
This is the Arab Defense's X page, or whatever. The Houthi spokesman: "Our operations in international waters were purely defensive, and we announced their final cessation." And then this one here: President Putin says he takes Donald Trump's plan to end the war with Ukraine very seriously, and Russia supports it.
I mean, what kind of this goes beyond "I told you so."
Yeah.
This is a man who wants to accomplish. And you know what? I saw in Trump, like in the final days of the election, a man who was tired. This is a man who has been basically barn raising across the country, fighting. He won obviously all these swing states, right? That didn't come at no cost. He was fighting like a man half his age to make that happen. He looked tired, but did he rest even on the on day 1 and 2 after being the president-elect? No, the guy went, just with his presence, he's making good things happen for the American people. You can't beat instincts. Listen, as a business guy myself, right? And I always say my greatest education in business was watching my family around the dinner table. And I'm talking about my mom's brothers and sisters. They would sit around the around the dinner table in my house, and they would all talk about what they were doing to solve the problems at work. And they would talk about their issues at work, and they would be brainstorming and coming up with ideas for one another and helping each other and mentoring one another to lead. And they all had extremely successful careers in the business world. And that was, like this group effort, a mind, group mind where they were joining. And at the end of the day, one of the things I realized about that is that there are several people at this table who have really good instincts, like really good instincts. These are really good. And I could note that when I was 12, 13 years old, when I was sitting in a chair just listening to them. They have great instincts to fix problems. And that's what Trump is. Trump is probably the man with the world's greatest instincts on how to resolve problems through action. It's just through his experience and his action and the miles that he's put on his mind. He has very good executable ideas and expectations, realistic expectations. Yeah. And you can't take that away from him. It's like a guy who, you get drafted in the major leagues. Everybody wants to hate you, right? But the fact is, your batting average is 800. Okay, nobody's ever seen it before, and you're gonna knock him down because the guy is not what you think is the best looking athlete, or he doesn't do things the way that you want him to, but he's batting 800. No, you shut the hell up. You stand aside. You let him hit the ball. Absolutely. And that's what Trump is going to do.
Yeah, and we're seeing it already, John. We're seeing it already. Just 2 days, and I think he knows he's got 4 years to get things done, and we're going to see things full speed ahead. Already, President Trump announcing for America's 250th birthday.
I love this. When I saw this, I was like, man, dude, he didn't even wait to get into the batter's box to hit the home run. Yeah. He hit a home run off of a warm-up pitch. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Look, I mean, nobody was thinking about this because everybody was thinking about what they were going to get away with, in the government. Everybody was thinking about the national disaster that we have. He's president for one day. He unites the entire. Now, listen, here's what I was thinking. The vision of this idea at the end of this, we're going to watch the video here in a minute, but at the end of it, in year 3 of his presidency, we're going to be the most united country, most proud country, most patriotic country that the world has ever seen. And I bet you he had this idea and he had it under his sleeve the entire time. He had it up his sleeve and he never let it out until after he won the election. It's truly tremendous.
Years from now, the United States will celebrate the biggest and most important milestone in our country's history. 250 years of American independence. What a great country. And we have to keep it that way. But that's why, as a nation, we should be preparing for a most spectacular birthday party. We want to make it the best of all time. Here is my plan to give America's founding in 1776 the incredible anniversary it truly deserves. On day 1, I will convene a White House task force called Salute to America 250. It will be responsible for coordinating with state and local governments to ensure not just one day of celebration, but an entire year of festivities across the nation starting on Memorial Day 2025 and continuing through July 4th, 2026. Second, I will work with all 50 governors, Republican and Democrat alike, to create the Great American State Fair, a unique one-year exhibition featuring pavilions from all 50 states. It'll be something. The Great American State Fair will showcase the glory of every state in the Union, promote pride in our history, and put forth innovative visions for America's future. My hope is that the amazing people of Iowa will work with my administration to open up the legendary Iowa State Fairgrounds to host the Great American State Fair and welcome millions and millions of visitors from around the world to the heartland of America for this special one-time festival. Together we will build it and they will come. Third, alongside the Great American State Fair, we will host major sporting contests for high school athletes. These are great athletes, wonderful athletes from fantastic high schools all around the country. These Patriot Games will allow young Americans from every state to show off the best of American skills, sportsmanship, and competitive spirit. Fourth, I will sign an executive order to bring back our National Garden of American Heroes, which we want to build very badly, commission artists for the first 100 statues to populate this new statuary park honoring the greatest Americans of all time. Fifth, as president, I will invite the leaders and citizens of nations around the world to visit the United States in honor of our 250th anniversary. It's going to be great. America's tourist industry should get ready because we're going to have a lot of people coming. It will be a record year. And finally, and most importantly, I will ask America's great religious communities to pray for our nation and our people as we prepare for this momentous occasion. From the very beginning, America has been a country sustained and strengthened by prayer and by our communities of faith. As we chart a course toward the next 250 years, let us come together and rededicate ourselves as one nation under God. Thank you.
Wow. Just amazing.
What
John.
a party that's going to be. What a party that's going to be. This is a guy who's always talked about, he wants the military parade, right? The guy, this is somebody who loves their country. They like to see their country do things that are just feel good, right? And this is going to be a way that we feel great. This is going to bring, it's going to inspire a ton of innovation. It's going to give us a joint project that we can all come together as a country and do. I mean, this is just a great idea. And the fact that we're going to be celebrating 250, for me, I mean, it already makes me proud to be an American, right? I can't wait to figure out how I can be involved in that process. How can I celebrate? What is my part going to be in celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation's independence? I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to buy something that I can put on my shelf or on my desk from that party. This is just going to be an amazing event. And these next 3 years leading up to it, and these next 4 years are going to be the greatest years in our country's history. I truly believe that. Just the greatest years of our nation's life.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to that. It's just going to be amazing, once in a lifetime thing, and yeah, I mean, just thinking about it now, you have to think about how you're going to get there. what's all involved, you know.
Where are we going to go? The trips, the things. I mean, it takes us back to, like, you know, when they used to have like these big fairs, right? Yeah. And they don't anymore. And that's kind of evolved into just like a little, you know, riding bumper cars and stuff. No, but now we're going to really do this exhibition of our country's power, mind power, as much as anything else. And that's something I can really look into and buy into. And it's just everything that he does turns to gold. You can't, I mean, there's no other way to explain it. And this is the same thing. Obviously, that's how you know that he didn't touch that woman who sued him for $250 million. Because she sure as hell did not turn into gold.
No,
you know?
No, not at all.
But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that in 3 years. You know, that comes all too quickly. So I pray for the leader. I pray that he stays safe. I pray that that he stays healthy, and I pray that people who surround him are loyal for once.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, John. So before we go across the nation, we have this beautiful commercial for everyone to watch.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing!
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
The sweet emotion raining all over me.
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
American rock and roll.
All right, John. What a great commercial, huh?
Wow. It gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's how do you go? I mean, they wonder why they lost. Like we see so many of these mainstream media people wondering why they lost, and listen to the things that he's talking about. He's talking about our lives and our kids and our families, our love, our God, the things that are truly impactful to us every day, the things that we think about every day. And the left is talking about castrating your kids and transgender ideology and protecting things that don't exist and protecting politicians and protecting the government's right to intervene in your life. And it's the worlds apart. They have no idea why they lost. And it's not just Trump. It's going back to a time where we loved one another and loved our country.
Yeah, one thing the left really wants you to believe in is bringing illegals into our country. But usually when you confront a leftist with illegal aliens, especially on their doorstep, the answer is completely different.
Thing for like all the illegals
I think
and
we
stuff.
have to be fair.
Guys, this is great. I think we found a new home for you guys.
What guys?
There you go.
Is that your bus?
Yeah.
I don't understand what this is all about.
This is all the immigration. They're gonna move into your house.
They are not.
What do you mean? You just said you wanted to support everyone, though.
Okay, that I don't.
No, they're
Guys,
not
we
violent.
got a
They're
new
not
house.
violent. They're good. They're
Oh no,
like
hop it! Just like you guys did before.
Thank you very much.
Can they stay for dinner? Wait. Well, we have your signature. You guys got to drive back down south.
Back to Home Depot.
Oh man,
Yeah.
When it comes to their home, they don't want them, But bring
No,
them into the
no,
city, put them up in a hotel, it's okay. So this part of the show, we're gonna deal with a lot of the reactions to the election, and we hadn't checked in on our friend the Morning Schmo in a while, and here's some things that he had to say.
I'm sure it's reasonable.
We still have an electorate
70 million plus that will be voting for a man who said he was going to assassinate for treason the chairman of the Joint Chiefs because he didn't support him on January the 6th, who has said just in recent days he was going to execute Liz Cheney with a firing squad, 9 guns pointed and shooting at her face. A man who has said that he was going to shut down CBS because he didn't like how they edited an interview. A man who said he was going to be a dictator from day one. A man who said he was going to terminate the Constitution. A man who said he was going to use the Army and he was going to use the National Guard on his political opponents. I literally could go on all day. And yet you talk to Trump voters and they'll go, he didn't say that. Wait, now I didn't hear him. And then you say, well, here's the quote. And then they'll go, yeah, he didn't mean that. So there's something far more long lasting than just Donald Trump, the candidate. There is a sort of Russian embrace of disinformation, a radical devaluing of truth over the last 9 to 10 years, and a complete ignorance on civics and what the term Madisonian democracy even means, what checks and balances even means, what judicial review even means, what the rule of law even means. How do we as a nation, even post-Trump, how do we reach those Americans who apparently didn't go to civics class, apparently didn't learn the basics of this Constitution, and have just been overwhelmed with this information?
So in other words, we're all idiots, and he's the smart one. So we should listen to him because he knows everything and we know nothing.
This is why we hate him.
Schmo, yeah.
This is why we hate the mainstream media, right? Number one, he talks about liars, right? He talks about lying, and the guy happens to be lying as he's talking, complaining about lying. He said the 9 people firing squad shooting Liz Cheney. That's not what he said, right? And this is just one example. What he actually said was she would be different if she had a firing squad firing at her. He's talking about putting herself in harm's way, while her father was making this country go to war on a constant basis.
What's funny, John, is that other liberals came out and said that this was a lie, that this was fake. Bill Maher, Cenk Uygur, they all said that this was a bullshit story. And yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
Well, that's what it was. But they all said it, and these are liberals that are saying it. But here is the morning schmo quoting this and saying that this is truth, that this is fact. This is why we can't trust them, why we don't listen to them.
This is why they're idiots. This is why they're idiots. You're 100% right. I mean, you even the liberals, and that's why I use that example. We had it on the show where they were saying that it was not true. That was a lie. They were acknowledging the lie. And this guy now, he perfectly well knows that is a lie, and he's still repeating the lie to the American people. And you want us to give you an ounce of credibility? This guy is such trash. This guy is real garbage, not the garbage that voted for Trump, obviously. But although he probably did. He probably did vote for Trump, because in the end, he's there to get paid to be an idiot. But at the end of the day, I mean, you've got to imagine he voted for Trump too, probably. I don't even think that they believe their own bull crap, as you said.
Yeah, I'm surprised him and the witch still have a job there, but it is what it is. Let's also check out Joyless Joy Reid, what she has to say. She says that Kamala Harris ran a flawless campaign, even cited Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and all the celebrity endorsements, including Queen Latifah, who never endorses anyone. Listen to this, John.
And I think it's important to say that, anyone who has experienced or been in the United States for any period of time and experienced this country's history and knows it cannot have believed that it would be easy to elect a woman president, let alone a woman of color. Let's just be clear. And nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swiftie to the Swifties. She had the Beehive. You could not have run a better campaign in that short period of time. And
All right, John.
How dumb? How dumb is this woman?
I just want to play something back because I want everybody to see this one more time because you blink and you might miss it. Watch for Rachel Maddow. Watch this.
And I think it's important to say that,
Oh my God.
And I think it's important to say that, anyone who has experienced...
Listen, this is such a joke. She says, what a flawless campaign. Flawless. Without error. It was a perfectly run campaign. She's the greatest. She even has Queen Latifah. I don't know. I don't know where she went to school. You said earlier, actually, she went to Harvard.
Yes.
Apparently, she doesn't know that Queen Latifah is not a real queen. No. Right? She's just a fat rapper. Okay?
And I
there's
can tell
nothing
you, the only
special.
people who know who she is are Gen Xers. Anybody, after Gen X doesn't know who she is.
She's basically a black jelly donut. What's his name? Donut? What's the guy's name? That's who she is. She's just that's his name, right? Isn't he Donut something? Jelly Donut? What's the guy's name? Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
Okay, she's basically a black jelly roll, black female jelly roll. That's it. There's nothing else spectacular about him. In 20 years, you won't know who Jelly Roll is either. Nobody else will. And nobody cares who they endorse for president. Why would anybody? That's the problem here. You're giving value to where no value is merited. Nobody cares what a rapper says. Nobody cares. Ask me what Eminem. Oh, what does Eminem say about it? I don't give a damn what Eminem says about the presidential election. He all he does is write rap songs. You know what? I can write a rap song when I was in college too. That's probably would have smoked a joint and wrote a rap song. There's nothing special about that. There's no huge talent in it. Okay, these people are not writing Shakespeare. No. You want to look? I mean, even Kid Rock. Okay, who does Kid Rock support?
Trump.
I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. I know who he supports, but it doesn't matter to me. You know what matters to me is who's going to take care of my kid. I care about the future of my children. I have 5 kids. I care about them having jobs. I care about them having a future. So who's going to endorse their lives?
Yeah.
Right? I'm like I said, I'm not a big RF Kennedy guy, but I know that he's going to watch out for my kids' health. Yeah. Right? I don't care about Elon Musk. I don't think that he's the savior or anything, but I do care about him providing opportunity for my kids to innovate in the future. So you can't compare these two teams, and this MSM, the mainstream media, has just lost their damn minds when they say things like that. It shows how unattached from reality they are.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll never vote for a black woman in my entire life as long as Joy Reid is black. I won't vote just for that reason, just because it'll piss her off because that's the only thing that she wants. Not because I care if a black woman becomes president, not because I care that she's black or she's a woman, but I do not like Joy Reid. If Joy Reid, well, if you're a Republican, I probably would vote for her. But I'm never vote for Joy Reid.
The other ones, there was some from The View too. Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and Sonny Costin had their pieces to say. I'm not going to put it on here though. We're not going to play that. But interesting that we talked about Joy Reid. She is a product of Harvard, if you can believe that. I guess that's what Harvard is.
I do know. That's what Harvard puts out. I'd be embarrassed.
But she's been blaming everything for Kamala's law. She's been blaming racism. She's been blaming sexism. She's been blaming Latino men. She even blamed WWE wrestling.
My generation, Generation X, the people who grew up on WWE and Hulk Hogan and Donald Trump did this. They did this. They are the ones who looked in the face of somebody who said, I want to be a dictator on day one. We did this.
Yep.
You're damn right I did it.
She blamed wrestling and Gen X. So there you go. Gen X and wrestling.
What a genius she is. I swear.
All right. So that was the mainstream media, right, John? Let's look at actual leftists, the real liberals. Here is one video of some of the liberals melting down over Trump's win.
No! Why?
God, if you idiots elect that demented man, I will burn this whole place to the ground. And for a racist, a rapist, a dictator, you voted for a bully, a bigot, and a narcissist. Even the Germans tried to warn us, but you didn't listen. You didn't listen to the historians, the psychologists, the educators, and the intellectuals. Of course not, because dictatorship 101 is to convince you to distrust the media, the educated, and to create an us versus them mentality.
Now, obviously, she was reading from something. You know, she didn't come up with that on her own. But then we have this little compilation of some leftists losing it.
We may not have rights tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm scared of going to I might wake up on my
Disney Plus. Anyone else having a meltdown? I don't know how to do this. Right now, I'm just not. I can't deal with this right now. I am 48 years old.
You can't tell if it's me or if it's the actual person that's just
anything
bad.
like this. I never thought I would in this country. No, wait. I'm so stressed. I don't know how to handle this.
It's unbelievable,
Wow.
John. I mean, it's really sad to think that these people are in our country, and these people are among us. They are among us. They are at the store. When you go to the store, they're at the store. They're at the mall. If you go to the mall, they're at the restaurant. When you sit down to eat, I guarantee you there's some of these people there. And it's sad to think that we have this serious, serious mental health crisis in the United States of America. These people are the ones that you can look at and say they have a mental health issue. And it's prevalent, it's everywhere. And here's the greatest example and the worst example and the scariest example is what we're going to see right here. There's no sound on this video, but this is a compilation of death threats off the X platform. Look at this. Okay, so new plan, we kill Trump. It's time to kill Trump during inauguration 2025. Somebody please kill Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Anybody please blow their heads smooth off. Look at this stuff, John. This is outrageous. And I don't know what made them think that it was a great idea to post death threats towards the President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States on X and think that that's okay. I truly hope that once President Trump takes office, that he sends some people to go visit these people, that they find these people. And, you know, John, at the end of the day, it's like I told you earlier, we need to bring back the institutions, John. We need to bring back the mental institutions. I'm sorry. It's just the way I feel. I think that the mental health crisis in the United States of America has gotten so bad at this point. We need the mental health institutions and to get people right again. I don't know. But it's scary to think about that these people are out there. They're out there. They're among us.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they did. This is what happens when you do buy into the mainstream media, right? This crazy nut was saying, oh, you know, you've been told not to trust the mainstream media. When you do, look at who you are. Look at who you are. When you disbelieve what's right in front of your nose and you believe instead what's over there in the corner, mainstream media, telling you, putting in your mind, I mean, look what you become, a nutcase.
Yeah. I mean, just having total meltdowns over an election. You know, I was upset at the 2020 election, and that was stolen election. Yeah, I was upset, but I didn't have a meltdown. I didn't think the world was ending. You know, in 2016, I was happy when President Trump won, but I wasn't shouting to the heavens or jumping off my roof or anything like that. I can tell you that when President Trump won this election, the 2024 election, I wasn't so much happy, although I was happy, I was more relieved. I was relieved that we weren't going to face a possible Kamala Harris and Tim Walz administration and 4 more years of this terrible economy, which would probably get 10 times worse. just a complete, total nightmare, but that has been averted. But to the left, the nightmare has just begun for them, and you can see this already, John. In Chicago yesterday, they were already having a massive anti-Trump protest outside the Trump Hotel. This is right after, and here's the video of them out there.
The system stands for! The system stands for!
So the left is already having their temper tantrums, and I'm wondering how much these people were paid to be there, John.
Yeah, of course, right? They get paid. These are, that's basically the people who were paid probably to go to the rallies for Kamala Harris, right? She had to pay people to go into her rallies, and those people are all unemployed, or who knows? Maybe they still are on the clock, and they just shipped them all to Chicago to do this. You just you can never trust what you see going on by the left, because how rare is it that people are going to come out and protest something as dumb as, nothing, right? Like, they're just protesting. You don't understand. These are the same people that when you ask them, what are Kamala Harris's chief accomplishments as vice president? And they don't know.
Right.
So you think that somebody who doesn't know what somebody's accomplishments are is going to go and protest on their behalf? That's how you know that they're fake. And that's why you know that they're paid. And that's what happens. They get paid. Nobody really cares. I mean, come on.
I hate to think that there are so many mentally ill people in the United States. But this wasn't the only protest that happened yesterday. They had another one in Philadelphia. So we'll see if Soros is going to fund more of these things. I'm sure he will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it seems like another reaction of the DOJ is that Jack Smith is immediately going to end their cases against Donald Trump. Here's that.
Not a surprise that these cases can't go forward when Donald Trump takes office. What's interesting here is that the DOJ is moving to end them even before he takes office, citing the long-standing DOJ policy that sitting presidents can't be prosecuted. And there was some thought that maybe Special Counsel Jack Smith was going to sprint through the finish line, was going to work up until the last day, force Trump to fire him, wait till a new attorney general was appointed. But that does not appear to be the thinking inside the department. The thinking is that these cases can't go forward. There's no reasonable prospect of getting to trial within the 3 months before Donald Trump takes office. These cases are mired in legal issues that would be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court had Donald Trump lost the election. So now that he's won the election, DOJ officials are thinking that, look, there's just no room to move in these cases. And so the sensible thing to do is to figure out a way to wind them down. And it may stem from Donald Trump's lawyers filing some kind of motion or making a request saying, in light of the DOJ policy, you need to drop these cases. Now, there are a few wrinkles here, one of which is that the classified documents case includes 2 other defendants who are not subject to that policy. And it's been dismissed, obviously, but that dismissal has been appealed. And the DOJ considers that ruling to be very bad law that it would like to be overturned. So that appeal may continue in some form. But the reality is that Donald Trump is not going to be a part of these cases. And what this means, I mean, we knew this, right? But just coming to grips with what this means intellectually is that Donald Trump is not likely to be held accountable on these very serious federal criminal charges that many people believe were worse than what Richard Nixon did or was accused of doing.
What the hell is he talking about?
You have to remember, this is MSNBC, so not surprising.
Oh, man. You got me. Very serious charge. No, why can't you? Again, this is why you can't trust the mainstream media. These are all things that said that nobody else has ever been prosecuted over, and all things that you had to find a reason to make them a felony, an actual charge, as opposed to just election law violations. These are things that have been happened in the past that never have been brought up. No. So I don't know what he's talking about. These very serious, whatever.
Yeah,
yes, if it was very serious, they'd go after him.
Worse than Watergate.
Worse than Watergate. Yeah, I mean, Watergate was a perjury. There were perjury involved.
If this was a serious thing, all right, Jack Smith wouldn't be giving up. He would be pursuing this all the way to the end. And he knows now that he can't do that, or he doesn't want to do that because he's afraid that some retribution might be coming his way. So,
Absolutely.
on the other hand, Letitia James says she's a guardian of the law and tells New Yorkers that you should not be scared about Donald Trump being president. Here she is.
So here we are. We've studied their platforms. We've identified certain possibilities, fact patterns. We've created contingency plans. So no matter what the next administration throws at us, we're ready. We're ready to respond to their attacks. We're ready to respond to any attempts to cut or eliminate any funding to the great state of New York, as the governor outlined. So despite what has happened on the national stage, we will continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, or retribution. We will continue to protect our most vulnerable and marginalized amongst us, because it is my sworn duty and responsibility to lead that fight, working with the governor of this great state, Kathy Hochul. This is not the time to be fearful, New York, but faithful and steadfast, knowing that I, as the Attorney General, along with my entire team, we are guardians of the law, and we are prepared, my friends, to fight back. Thank you.
Wow, man, this
She
woman
kind of
thinks
looks
that
like
she's-
Queen Latifah, doesn't she?
She does kind of look like Queen Latifah, and I think that this is just a joke. If I were Trump, I would file a bar complaint against her and put her under investigation and turn the tables on her. Yeah. Not as retribution, but as basically a violation of her oath that she's talking about.
And I think it's time. I think she deserves it. Kathy Hochul is a terrible governor. I hope the people of New York get rid of her as soon as possible. One of the things that Kamala Harris wanted to do, and John, they were talking about this on The View the other day, how badly this needs to happen, was control and regulation of social media. And Kamala Harris was on board for this. If they had voted her into office, if we had made her president of the United States, we would have seen oversight, regulation, and control by the federal government over social media. Here she is talking about it.
You have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
This is all about X. This is all about X and Elon Musk.
Your First Amendment right has to stop. That's not the first time we've had liberals say that we've had to lose our First Amendment rights. She just said, your First Amendment rights have to stop. Yeah. Okay? These liberals, when they deplatformed Trump, they were all saying, oh, well, this is a private company. This is a private company. What do you care? This is a private company. That was when Twitter was essentially an arm of the federal government by shutting down, censoring speech. Now that Twitter is privately owned, actually a private company, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we need to control your First Amendment right and social media ability to allow people to use their voices or amplify their voices. These are the fascists. Yeah. They are the fascists. That's why they've been using that word, because they studied it, they identified with it, they knew it wasn't very popular. They saddled Trump with it, but they are the fascists.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to keep on guard of this. Know that if you vote for a Democrat, especially one that, even whether it's for Congress, Senate, or the presidency, this is one of their goals, is to regulate and control social media. They don't like it that you have your freedom to amplify your voice on X. Never let them take that away from you. All right, and finally, John, we have to talk about this story. We really do. Poor Peanut the squirrel. The owner of Peanut the squirrel explains how New York officials raided his house, took Peanut and his raccoon, and killed them. Here's this video courtesy of TMZ.
We just learned that they have euthanized Peanut.
And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat outside my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like a criminal after they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status, then proceeded to ask me if I had cameras in my house, then proceeded to go through every cabinet, nook, and cranny of my house for a squirrel and a raccoon.
They got a search warrant?
They got a search warrant. 4 departments and a judge signed off on a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And then they took them and killed them.
Why did they go through all that to get a search warrant for an animal that had been with you very safely, and the world witnessed this for 7 years? Why now suddenly did they show up with a search warrant and take these animals?
We haven't a clue. We don't know who made the complaints. Again, Peanut was an indoor squirrel, not harming anybody. He's been with us for 7 years. Not a single complaint was ever filed for this animal. We had him for 7.5 years. He became the world's most famous squirrel. We weren't hiding him by any means. He was all over TikTok. He became the first squirrel on TikTok to ever hit 1 million followers. He did every news station around the world. He's helped people. He's helped kids gather joy. And then we started a nonprofit animal rescue called Peanut's Freedom Farm to help animals like Peanut fight a good fight when they're in a neglected case or they're sitting in a slaughter auction. And he was the cornerstone of our life and our organization. We used his platform to help raise money for the 300 animals we have at our sanctuary.
So this is what the guardians of law and justice in New York are concerned with. They're concerned with President Trump and Peanut the squirrel.
Yeah, fugitives number 1 and number 2. It's incredible that these are the most wanted in New York, Peanut the squirrel and President Trump. They are, unfortunately. And you know what's funny is that I bet you that this family, nice young couple, are probably liberals, right? They're probably New York liberals. He's all shocked that somebody would do oh my goodness! That somebody would a warrant. No, well, that somebody would get a warrant. Yeah. Dude, they're going after the president of the United States for nothing. You think they're not going to go after you with a squirrel? Yeah, they're going to go after you because this is about control. It doesn't matter what the subject area. It doesn't matter the procedure. The procedures are all on their side. They control them, and they can use them against you. That's called weaponization. Okay, so you got a squirrel. You're building a business on this squirrel. These guys made probably a whole bunch of money off of this squirrel, and they did the right thing. They're nice young people. They're helping their community. They're doing this nonprofit. Okay, great. The government doesn't like it. They come and they kill your animals. Okay, and they get a warrant that many people signed on. Point being, that many people had eyes on this, and at any point in time, somebody could have said, "You know what? This is the wrong thing." Can't you just call the guy? Can't you just call the guy and at least write him a letter? Can't you write him a letter demanding that he turn over the squirrel, or that he come to a hearing and be allowed his Fourth Amendment rights and be allowed to plead his case? No, we're gonna send in the Gestapo to go kick down his door, take a damn rodent from his house, and this guy's offended. Not realizing, yeah, dude, that's what's coming under a Kamala Harris administration. If we had gone in a different path, this would be your everyday lifestyle, and everybody else. And it doesn't have to be a squirrel. It can be anything else. You posted something that you didn't like, and you're going to get the same exact treatment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where this comes down to. And thank God that would never. I guarantee you, if Giuliani were the governor of New York, that would never have happened. You'd be getting this. They'd be sewing the squirrel's head back on and giving it to you. Okay, they would never do something this stupid. New York has so many problems. I'm shocked that Eric Adams didn't step in or hasn't said anything about it either. But both I mean, I can't wait till New York is no longer a liberal state. It needs to happen.
This is what happens when you have Kathy Hochul as your governor and people like Letitia James as your attorney general. And I can just see it now, John. I imagine.
Well, they need to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that it was a complaint that was filed by one other liberal who didn't like that this guy had a squirrel in his house. Complained. The Department of Justice.
No, it was some lady in Texas. It was some lady in Tech. Yeah, it was. I think it was some lady in Texas who reported. She saw it on social media. I don't know why she had some problem with it. But they basically doxed her, and it's some lady, I think she lives in Texas, who complained about her. You'll have to look it up on your own. But yeah, some lady across the country. She wasn't even in the state. She wasn't even in the state, from what I understand. She lives in Texas, and she basically called the New York authorities, and and then they did something this stupid. With our resources, right? Like with the taxpayer resources, they go and kick down this guy's door. Like if he's got, I mean, if only they would treat sex traffickers like that, right? If only they would go bust down the door of a sex trafficker like that. But no, those guys, they have to give their Fourth Amendment right. But you got a damn squirrel in your house? Open up this door, sheriff. You got squirrels in there? Let the squirrel go. Let the squirrel go. I mean, so that we can cut its head off. It's crazy.
All right, John. Well, that's it. We're wrapping up the show at 1 hour and 51 minutes.
Yeah, so we knew it was going to be a long show. Listen, at the end of the day, we're extremely grateful for this show as opposed to the show that we would have had otherwise. We're grateful to the American people for turning out and doing the right thing, for believing in your country and your fellow countrymen. Listen, hold your head up, leftists. It's okay. It's just 12 years from now, you'll get another chance. Okay, and so
Life
keep
goes
your head
on.
up. Life goes on. We're gonna keep making jokes. Now you can go back to using the correct bathroom and playing in the appropriate sport and not castrating your children and having a job that actually pays and maybe owning a home if you feel like leaving your parents' basement. All those things are now possible. So be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. And you, Tom, and I, we are grateful. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you guys who watch. Please share and like the show. Hey, if you're let me say this. If you're laughing on some of my posts, because I've been getting, hundreds of reactions on some of these posts that I've been making recently, make sure that you also hit that follow button. That would be extremely helpful to me. But like and share the show. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us wherever we're at on social media. Find us. Check out our podcast. You can get this via podcast on most of the podcast distributors. You can find us there. We love you. God bless you. On behalf of me, former school board member John Arguello, my great friend over here, Citizen Tom Lord. Thank you. Have a great night. God bless you. We'll see you later this week.
Well, I mean, I was entertained, to be honest.
I think it is rich beyond measure. The fact that a school board member that has tens of millions of dollars of conflict of interest before this board has the courage to come up here and talk about anyone's behavior. If anyone should be ashamed of themselves, sir, it should be you. And I'm in favor of you being able to speak your mind no matter what. That's how we get, remember when we were kids, right? And you had a problem with somebody and then your dad would kick you out to go fight with that kid and then you shake hands, then you go home and then you become friends. Disgust when they're trying to, take this word and give it meaning that it doesn't have. Like our entire country needs to go through a fasting. You see all of these new age hippies, right? They're constantly fasting. They're doing starvation diets, or they won't eat for this, or what is it called? Like some kind of
intermittent fasting.
Intermittent.
It's not just us, and not just fans of President Trump, MAGA Republicans. We're not the only ones that see it.